All right, so we're back here on another Tourney Talk, a special edition of Tourney Talk. We are here. Now there's two. We have Baylor versus Gonzaga for the ultimate one shining moment. I got my guys in the building. Got my guy, what's going on, Chris?
What's up with it? What's going on?
And I got my boy Mo, aka Mo Gotti. What's going on, Mo?
Hey, national championship tonight, baby. Let you know what I'm saying. Let's dive in. Let's dive in.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
indeed. Yeah, it's definitely been a fantastic tournament, and man. So, fellas, before we preview tonight's game, man, you guys' thoughts on the national semifinal between Gonzaga and UCLA? Was that the greatest game that you've seen? We'll go around the horn. I'm going to go with you first, Mo.
I don't want to say yes, but like I don't want to say no either, cause like it's up there. So I think it's based on opinion. But you talk about some of the greatest games of all time. You talk about the meaning. That shot happened in the Final Four. I mean, to me, as far as great as the game goes, what really is like could give it the tip of the hat is the shot. Like that's what turned out. It's not like we're talking about a missed game-winning shot like a Gordon Hayward. When he missed the half-court shot against Duke, we're talking about a game-winning shot that took to the national championship. Now, the only thing that takes away from the game is it was only to go to the national championship. If we talk about some of the greatest games of all time, Coach, close your ears. But one of the most memorable moments of all time is when we talk about Villanova hitting the shot against North Carolina. So that had to be one of the greatest games of all time. That's the national championship down to the wire. We talking about game-winning shot, ended all for the championship. So when I measure that shot of Jalen Suggs, it's up there. But you have to look at the moment. I can't put that shot as the greatest shot of all time in tournament history because I look at the moment and I look back when Villanova beat North Carolina. That shot was made in the national championship. Then we talk about some other shots. Now, I put the Suggs shot over it, but we talk about I'm going to bring my team in when I can. When Evan Turner hit that game winner in the Sweet 16 to get Ohio State to the Elite Eight, that was a great shot. That's up there. Jalen Suggs surpassed that because, like I said, we talk about moments. Forget difficulty of shot and things like that. Sometimes things are lucky. I think Suggs' shot took a certain type of skill. It was a little bit of luck, a lot of bit of skill. You had to be able to get the shot off. It's not like it was a three-quarter shot, heave over the head, and he just happened to make it. It's one of the greatest games of all time. I think I'd have to take a list of the 5 greatest games of all time, and I think I would have to rewatch them to put this as the greatest game of all time.
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts?
Hey, I ain't gonna hold y'all. It's up there.
It's up there for sure.
I'm not gonna say it's the greatest game of all time, but it's definitely up there. I'll even put this game above the North Carolina Villanova game. I mean, honestly, we look back at that game. Nova had that thing won in the last couple minutes. They just blew it, gave Carolina a chance to come back because of that pressure, and it became a situation where they had to hit that shot to win the championship. But as an overall game from start to finish, man, this UCLA Gonzaga game was crazy. I'm talking about you could see the skill on display on the court. You know what I'm saying? These guys were going back and forth. It was good defense being played, but dudes putting on counter move after counter move, making tough shots, contested threes. It was just a great game from start to finish, and really, they should still be playing right now if we're going to keep it real. That game, it didn't like it was going to be over anytime soon. So it took a crazy shot like that to finish it. So it's up there. But we got games like Duke, Kentucky with Christian Laettner and those guys in 92. That's a classic game, that had a classic shot in the Elite Eight, sent you to the Final Four. That's up there as one of the greatest games of all time. Another Kentucky game in 98, Kentucky and Utah. Championship game. That's another big time game. So it's plenty of games that you can choose from. I'm not gonna say it's the greatest. I'm not gonna be a hype beast and just say that because it was it just happened. But it's up there though, and it's an instant classic. And as time continues and we let this one marinate and age, we might end up putting it up there as the greatest game. But it's definitely an instant classic.
Don't forget about the one. My fault, Coach. But
no,
I ruined his ears. He had to cover him. But now I'm about to. Don't forget about Jordan. North Carolina versus Georgetown. Jordan with the game winning and national championship. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's moments, and you have to value those moments and when those games were played. And
Well,
to me, what's
Houston,
better?
NC State.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like to me,
83,
what's
yeah.
better? A game winner won in the national championship, or a game winner won to go to the national championship? You got to think like, what's better? A walk-off home run, a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth inning, or
Right.
just that grand slam in the third, in the third inning that could not mean as much depending on how the game goes, but that walk-off, single home run to end the game. Game 7 of the World Series, that's going to be greater than a guy, having a grand slam in the third to go on and win the game. It's all about when the moment occurred.
That's true, and I think not like you said to be a hype beast, but I think it's really predicated on what's happening tonight. I think if they end up winning, and as far as having this historic moment, this definitely gonna be the catalyst of how it kind of as far as it will definitely put it in that hemisphere. But even to Mo's point, even though I was on a wrong receiving end of it, that Villanova North Carolina matchup, like you said, even though Villanova had it in the bag, North Carolina came back. Marcus Page
The greatest forgotten shot of all time.
Right, and that was a moment where it almost was like a Jalen Suggs kind of moment where it was kind of an impossible shot, and then lo and behold, Chris Jenkins hits the shot that just sends them to a national championship. But I definitely think this was, and it's weird because I know we talked about it last week how we didn't think that UCLA was going to be able to be in a track match like this, as far as the comparison of styles. I kind of compared them like almost like a football team with a great defense compared to, as far as how UCLA Gonzaga is like the offensive heavy team. But definitely, I definitely didn't think that they was going to hang on to it. But like you said, that was a cliffhanger. And
they controlled the pace. I mean, UCLA really did dictate the pace of that game. It could have been faster, but they were controlling it. They got on the break when they wanted to. A lot of times in that half court, they would ISO whoever they wanted to ISO at the top of the key and let them work and get a bucket. And they were executing. Like I haven't seen them play a game that great all season. That was easily their best game all year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, fellas, will this game live up to the hype? Will it be? We try to hyper beast it in Chris's word. So, Chris, man, what do you think about tonight? Will it live up to the hype?
I think we'll live up to the hype. I mean, you got two great teams. This Baylor team, they ain't no slouch. It's the reason they're in the national championship game. They got some hoopers. Of course, Davion Mitchell. He balled out the last game with the double-double, 12 and 11 assists. Jared Butler, one of the top guards in the country. Maceo Teague, a certified shooter. It's a formidable opponent. Baylor got some good bigs who can get boards and make big plays. So I think it's going to be a great game. Will it be as great as the game we just argued that's possibly the greatest game of all time? That's yet to be seen. I'm not going to say it will be. But for this game to live up to the hype, it doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest game of all time. So I think it's still going to be a great matchup, and it's going to be one to might go down to the wire. Honestly,
your thoughts, Mo?
Don't know. Don't know. Here's why. Ever since we done talked this turning talk, and I done predicted outcomes of the game, I done had expectations for games, I done put stock into guys. I've been dead wrong. So I don't want to sit here and just flaunt that I think this is going to be, it's going to live up to the hype. Because I'll say that and then either Gonzaga or Baylor is going to blow each other out and we'll stop watching at halftime. But if I say it's going to live up to, or I say it's going to be a blowout, then it's going to be the greatest national championship game we've ever seen. So I don't know. I have expectations that I hope so.
Put your powers on it, Mo. Go ahead and give us a prediction.
No, because I was dead wrong on both of those, so no. But I think, does it have the potential to really, like Chris, he said it best, living up to the hype does not mean that this has to be the greatest national championship we've ever seen, because that's not the expectation out of this game. We just talking about a really great matchup and kind of something that, if you really paid attention to college basketball this year, you're not surprised to see Gonzaga versus Baylor. Like, we had these other teams. There were a lot of great teams, and there were a lot of even matchups this year. But these have been like the two most dominant teams when you really talk about college basketball this year. They've been very consistent. Obviously, Gonzaga has not lost a game yet, and Baylor has 3 losses now. You know, they've had 2 or 3. Two, I think.
I think they have 2.
Yeah, that's dominant. Outside of the only other team that's really been that dominant, you have Illinois, who had 3 losses this past year. So it's like, you're not surprised, Gonzaga, Illinois, Baylor were coming into the season, not necessarily coming into the season, but once the season started, those were 3 of the best teams. Illinois got blown out by Baylor early. Outside of that, Illinois didn't have much of a struggle until the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, they won the Big Ten tournament, but coming after the Big Ten tournament, obviously they had their little upset there. But outside of that, we're not surprised to see these teams. So should it live up to the hype? Do I think this is an even matchup of the 2 best teams in the country? I do think so. I think these have been the 2 best teams throughout the whole year. Whether you want to, throw a few other teams in there, Illinois, a couple other teams, these have been the 2 best teams. Should it live up to the hype? Should it be a really close game? Yes. Should I expect it to be better than UCLA versus Gonzaga? No. Because you just watched one of the greatest games of all time. And if you're expecting this game to top that, now we're literally hoping that you're going to watch the greatest game of all time tonight. And I think that's a little too high of expectations for this game, even though I do expect it to be a great game.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one thing, too, where I think it will live up to the hype. And I think in a sense, normally you don't get the top 2 teams in the country playing against each other this late in the season. Right. Normally, normally some domino has to fall in some bizarre reason. So I think it will, and it's kind of matchup that we were looking forward to more because they're supposed to play in November. Mm-hmm. And So it's one of those things where it's almost like a gift was given to us, essentially, where we're finally getting it. But yeah, I mean, I think the 2, like you said, the 2 most dominant teams, in college basketball are squaring off in the final Monday of the season. So definitely, I think I don't agree with you, Mo. Where I don't essentially think it's going to be like a UCLA, Gonzaga instant classic, but I still think it's still going to be a good game. Like I said, it may not live up to the necessarily hype of edge of your seat like it was Saturday night, but it'll be a great game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, at least we hope so. We'll see.
Right, absolutely.
I thought Houston and Baylor was going to be a great game. We see how that turned out. And I thought Gonzaga UCLA was going to be a blowout. See how that turned out.
Right, isn't that something? Like, when we said Wednesday,
I went off the limb. I mean, I said 29.
The polar opposite happened.
Yeah.
I was like, but that should have been a sign to be like, look, this gonna be a good nightcap.
Did you think we didn't think UCLA had that in them?
No.
I mean, you remember I said Jazang, if he dropped 30, it might not be enough. He had 29. But the expectation was we didn't think everybody would step up. 4 guys, but I mean, we talking about, I thought 30 and you still lose by double digits. So we talk about 4 guys in double digits, 29, 19, 17, 14. We didn't think UCLA was coming to play like that.
All those guys stepped up.
Because they put up 51 against Michigan, and Michigan, they're pretty offensive proficient team as well. So I figured, well, dang, like they have no shot in hell. Mm-hmm. You can't put up 51 points against Gonzaga, but lo and behold, they put up 90.
They almost doubled that.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's just bizarre, man. But that's a tournament for you, essentially.
It brings the best out of you.
It
you know what I'm saying? The biggest moments, it brings the best out of some teams, and it brought the best out of UCLA.
This is what separates. This is my thing. I love college football. We had the discussion in the group chat the other day that like week in and week out, what sport would you just really want to watch? And my love for Ohio State, I love college football. But when we talk about off seasons, not off seasons, post seasons for all sports, this is what separates a game like that. Games like we've seen this year, upsets, Oregon State making it as far as they did. Obviously, Loyola Chicago being another story. UCLA to the Final Four. There were teams Oral Roberts to the Sweet 16 with a chance of going to the Elite 8. I mean, he had a good look to hit the shot to go to the Elite 8.
Yeah.
That is what separates, because outside of the NFL playoffs and obviously the college football playoffs, which they could do better if they do 8 teams instead of 4, but that's another day. It's one and done. And typically in the NFL, that first round, there's one game that you pretty much plan on being lopsided. The best division winner versus the last place wild card. Typically, it could be a little lopsided, but even a great game doesn't turn out to be like this, where NBA playoffs is the best of 7. We can see the greatest 7-game series we've ever seen, but it's not, the best team doesn't always win. This is one of the first times where we're really looking like, man, the 2 best teams actually got through the gauntlet and made it to the national championship. This is the one sport where a lot of times, even though when you win the national championship, you're deemed the best team, you may not really be the best team, just for the simple fact there's different type of roads you have to get there. One team might have benefited from another team being
might be the hottest team.
Exactly,
Right,
and you just have to be the hottest team. We've seen it. Kemba Walker and UConn, they weren't the best team. Like, realistically, they weren't the best team. If the best team won every year, John Wall and them would have a national championship. You know, like, there would be certain guys who didn't win one while they were in college that would have had one. So that's my thing, is this is what makes that game on Saturday and all the games leading up to it, the excitement, the teams aren't supposed to be here. You know, Oral Roberts beating Ohio State and then Florida. That's what makes the NCAA tournament so amazing, so intriguing to watch. And this year goes to show why 2020 was just so depressing last year. Like, we were robbed of this kind of excitement. We were robbed of this type of, you know, Thursday through Sunday that we're used to. I mean, obviously it wasn't like that, but we were robbed of that 4-day weekend of just full blown out basketball, that calling off of work because you be damned if you miss a game. That TV on in the kitchen, in the living room. When you go to the bathroom, you can hear the game in your room because you didn't want to miss a second.
You got the game put up on your phone, on the iPad.
Exactly. Like, you refused. You had your iPad, your laptop, your phone. You had 4 games on at once, and you scan, and you know that's what separates the NCAA tournament from any other postseason sporting event.
And then just to go with your point, you know, the NBA playoffs, those are series. So more than likely, you're going to have the best team figure out the way to win 4 games in a series. The term is single elimination. If you don't come with it, it don't matter if you're the best team or not. You ain't the best team that night. It's a wrap. So
Every
it's just
tournament game is game 7.
Exactly.
Every tournament game is game 7.
It shows it's even more special that we have these 2 teams here. They took care of business like they were supposed to, and now we get to see them duke it out for the title.
Yeah,
right. And look at what Michigan, because Michigan essentially they missed their last 8 shots. That's very uncharacteristic of a Michigan-led team. Sorry, Bo. But but yeah, so yeah, I definitely agreed. And I remember one thing that Coach K always used to say was, like, you know, especially in the tournament, you're gonna win games that you're supposed to lose. And so, and I look at, you know, especially like with Gonzaga in the sense where they had that kind of moment, which I think that really helps them in tonight's matchup. Essentially, you know, as far as one of the key ingredients of you know, that is concerned. So, fellas, moving on along with our preview tonight. So, what is the matchup to watch against Baylor versus Gonzaga? I'm going to go with you first, Chris. Your thoughts?
I'm going to say Drew Timme against them Baylor bigs. If the Baylor bigs can hold their own, because we've seen Timme. He got loose against UCLA. He's a problem in the post. You know, you give him something down there, you pretty much go ahead and chalk up those 2 points. So Timmy's a problem. If Baylor can make it tough for him, you know, contest those shots or even mess around the offensive end, get him in foul trouble and get Timme out the game, now we're gonna really see what the Gonzaga wings are made of when you get Timme out of there. It's gonna be on Suggs, Ayayi, Kispert, and those guys. We'll really see what they're about. But Timmy's going to be the key, man. He's been a problem all year, all season long down low. Teams have struggled to stop him. So if he gets loose, good luck, because Baylor's going to need it.
Yeah. Mo.
Jalen Suggs versus pressure. That, I think, is going to be a matchup, and you're not really going to be able to watch. It's not a mano-a-mano. It's not Jalen Suggs versus pressure. Here's why I say that. First off, that shot was iconic, regardless of the fact it's going to be on a Wheaties, on a Wheaties box if Gonzaga wins. It's going to be in a Gatorade commercial in about a week. But
they'll mess around and be a top shot when the
exactly when he gets exactly. So the thing is him versus pressure, him hitting that shot, and he didn't care about what kind of pressure it brings in the national championship. You just got to hit the shot. But we've seen two different Jalen Suggs in this tournament. The first 3 games, we've seen a very turnover-prone Jalen Suggs. We weren't seeing he was still playing at an elite level, but he showed some weaknesses. Then these past 2 games, we've seen a Jalen Suggs is he the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, come June? And so now the pressure is all on him. All eyes are on Jalen Suggs. If he wasn't a household name before Saturday night's jumper, he is now. Can he handle the expectation that you're the point guard, the ball is in your hands? Can you win the national championship? Because there's a lot of pressure from him towards him. Can you prove that you're a number 1 pick? Can you prove that you're better than Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham? All the scouts, every scout who's going to be in the lottery this year is watching that game. Everybody in the world is about to be watching this game, and all eyes are going to be on Jalen Suggs. The expectation is, can he be a superstar in a superstar moment? It gets no bigger than the national championship. If you can't handle pressure in the national championship, is it going to change the fact that he'll be a top 3 draft pick? Of course not. You still know his talent, but you do look, and it makes you wonder, if he folds and can't handle pressure in the national championship, how does he continue and go on the biggest professional stage and carry the pressure that goes on night in and night out, where your every move is watched? So him versus pressure, what he made his name as, he's iconic. He's in everybody's mouth. He's in the conversation. That's what everybody's going to talk about. Jalen Suggs, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Suggs. You've heard it Saturday night, Sunday, and leading up in today. So can he put the pressure aside, get out of his head, work, and not worry about anything but the game, and be great for one more game, and ultimately, I don't want to say carry, but can he ultimately be that great player we've seen the last 2 games and bring home a national championship to Gonzaga?
Yeah. And also to your point too, Mo, where really, and they're going to put him against Davion Mitchell. So you look at that situation, because, Mitchell handled Cade Cunningham pretty well. So a lot of people are going to kind of look at that in a vacuum and say, okay, what did Cade, what did he do against Davion Mitchell? What is Davion Mitchell? So that's another thing too, where people look at, where that might, like you said, might be the determining factor as far as who's going to be number 1. But ultimately, I think the biggest matchup that I'm looking forward to is the coaching matchups. Scott Drew and Mark Few. I just think those are two great coaches. One of them going to be, going to win a national championship. And we talked about it earlier, Chris, where think about 16 years ago, 2005, or right around that time. Who would ever thunk that we'd be in this moment, especially when it comes to Baylor? We knew at that time Gonzaga was emerging. They're the grandfather of they're the term of mid-major. Mid-major was in the dictionary. There should be a picture of Gonzaga. This run has been amazing. Mark Few's been there since '99. Scott Drew, after all the stuff that happened at Baylor, the drama. I mean, it was almost to a point I didn't think the program would ever recover from the incident back in 2003, and they're here 18 years later, and they've been around. They've been like a powerhouse for at least for the last for a sizable amount of time. So that coaching matchup I think is going to be great, and one of these guys are gonna win a national championship, and it's gonna either be well deserved, and both have just definitely turned these programs into dare I say, blue-bloodish?
I mean, you basically can go ahead and pencil in Gonzaga as a blue blood. Like you said, they've been around, and if they haven't won a championship, they've been right there. They've been top seeds, number 2 seeds a bunch of times the last 20 years. I mean, they're legit. So, yeah, you might as well go ahead and say that they're a blue blood to my generation. as long as I've been watching college basketball, they've been right there in the mix. So you might as well go ahead and pencil them in.
Yeah, especially when we look at it from like at least, and we think about in the 21st century, probably they definitely can make a definitive case of being a blue blood. But yeah, man, absolutely. So let's see what we got here. Who's going to be the X Factor? Who you got, Chris, is your X Factor?
Of course, everybody's going to be looking at Suggs, Timmy, Kispert, Ayayi. I have Andrew Nembhard, the Florida transfer, the other guard for Gonzaga. Nembhard, he's somebody who can get buckets. He was a good point guard for Florida, for the Gators. He's come to Gonzaga, played well playing alongside Suggs. In games like this, everybody's going to be zoned in on the big time stars. He's somebody you might mess around. He might drop a quick 8 in the first half and, might have a 14 or 16 by the end of the night before you know it. You don't even expect it, didn't see it coming. But when everybody's going to be zoned in on the stars, it's going to be guys like him who, might step up and be big time. So he's an X factor for me. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big night tonight.
Yeah. Who you got, Mo?
Baby Teague. Masio Teague. I think he's the X factor. And the reason why, like Chris said, there's a lot of stars out here. Obviously more so on Gonzaga's side. But we talk about the three-headed, coming into the Baylor-Houston game, we talk about the three-headed monster that Baylor has at guard. My thing is, who is going to be the one to step up? We expect Gerard Butler to have a great game. It's got to be Masio Teague. Like, is he going to get lost in all the names and who he's going against? Or does he have a big game and have that championship moment game? And I think if he does, it takes guys to step up. We know what the best player is going to do, but we want to know what the next man up is going to do. And that's where UCLA was able to have, a down-to-the-wire game with Gonzaga because next man up showed up to play. Can Teague really be the next man up? Even though we know how good he is, can he establish himself as a household name tonight? Because he's one of the guys that not everybody watching this national championship is going to know who he is. Not everybody knows that's Baby Teague, that's Jeff and Marquise Teague's little brother. But they have a chance to, you going to learn today. And so if he play a great game, that's what it's going to be. You going to know my name today. Yeah, you going to know my name today. So I think he really becomes the X factor because he has a chance to really put his name on the map because not a lot of people, even people who follow him this year, if you're not really into it, you don't even know that that's Jeff Teague's brother, to be honest. So it come down to he can make a name not only for himself, but just I think if he steps up and he has a great game, maybe he has to be the best player on the floor tonight. All it takes is one night, one hot performance for you to make a name for yourself. And I think if he does that, he's the X factor and Baylor comes out with the national championship.
Yo. So I raise you one Baylor guard to another one. Adam Flagler. Interesting nugget. So if he scores in double figures, Baylor is undefeated. The only 2 times that he was under double digits was against Kansas and Oklahoma State. Both
and
were
against
losses.
Houston.
Yeah.
He didn't score. He scored 7 against Houston.
Oh, he scored 7. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's one of those kind of key factors. I think he, as far as him, because we really think about it, this team's gonna have to score, so they're gonna have to get scoring from various spots. So I definitely think Adam Flagler definitely is an X factor in this matchup. Yeah,
I like it.
Yep. So unsung hero, who you got, Chris?
My unsung hero, well, it's gonna mess around. It's gonna be the Baylor bigs. If they win, nobody's gonna be talking about those big guys for Baylor. They really balled out. It's gonna be all about the guards. It's gonna be all about what Teague did, what Mitchell did, or what Butler did. But nobody's gonna talk about the dirty work apparently because you're gonna have to do the dirty work to win this game from the Baylor bigs. So that Baylor front line. That's what I'm saying is going to be the unsung hero on that side. And even for Gonzaga, Ayayi. we've been talking about Suggs all this time, and Yayi went crazy against UCLA. Ain't nobody really talking about him. So he might mess around and have another game where he goes off and nobody's really mentioning his name. So those are the two for both teams that I have.
Yeah, because he was critical, especially because remember UCLA in the beginning was like, had control and he, was hitting some clutch shots. Who you got, Mo?
22.
Yep.
It's tough to say like who the unsung hero is because we talking about really the two best teams, like the ones who got the players we all know about. The expectation of both teams. We know who's gonna perform. We know who's not. We have expectations for guys. We have them for not. So I guess if somebody becomes heroic, but you know what? I think I was wrong last week, so I'm gonna go with the same Gonzaga's bench, and they proved my point. UCLA is not Baylor. As great as they played, they still ain't Baylor. They played 7 guys last week against UCLA in a tight game. We was talking about how much playing time the starters got in a blowout. They played 7 guys last week. 2 guys that came off their bench under 10 minutes in the game. Do you think the starting 5 is good enough to hold another team who's almost as talented as you when we talk about Baylor, and you only go 5 deep and bring your starters in for what, 5 or 6 minutes apiece? Gonzaga's bench is going to have to step up. Baylor plays their guys. It's the game of basketball.
Especially some guys in foul trouble.
Exactly, right. And you get tired. That Flagler comes off the bench, and he's a guy when he scores double digits, they don't lose. There's no guy on Gonzaga that you could pull a stat like that and say, hey, he comes off the bench, and when he scores double digits, Gonzaga doesn't lose. Because, I guess if you want to nitpick like 2 games that he's some guy off the bench to score double digits and they've won, all right, cool. But they don't ever have to play their bench. And they're going to play a team who's close to as talented, if not just as, when you really talk about it, we ain't talking about household names. And they're going to play, last game, they played 12 guys. Now, granted, they blew out Houston. These guys have experience in the tournament. The deeper you dig into Baylor or Gonzaga's bench, they don't have much experience. They don't even play their bench in a blowout. So I think it's gonna, if it comes down to Gonzaga has to dive into their bench because of foul trouble, because of tired, because Baylor then made so many adjustments, substitution after substitution, get their guys in, and it constantly is fresh legs for Baylor, and Gonzaga has to match that energy, they could be in trouble because clearly they don't trust their bench. If it didn't say something in the USC game, it had to have said it in the UCLA game where we see it's down to the wire and only 2 guys played off their bench and played less than 10 minutes apiece.
Yeah. I have an unsung hero, but it's kind of like low-hanging fruit in a sense. Corey Gespert.
Okay.
Because he struggled the last 2 games, and he's a senior, so it's to a point where I'm not going to say he's going to be like Dante DiVincenzo or what, He's not going to just come off the bench, like that type of unsung hero. I don't think you're going to have something of that type of magnitude tonight. But I think he's going to kind of get it going tonight. I know he's struggling. I think he was like 5 for 18 from the 3 the last 2 games. So I think he's going to get himself together. And then, like you said, maybe, as far as the Baylor bigs, as far as what he's going to do against the Baylor bigs. But I think he's – and like you said, in this game it's weird because even though both teams, it's almost like they all, they deep and they're good. Then we know them. It's like – so it's like you said, it's not like a more so – like it's not as far as a definitive one, but somebody who could just have a good game that's kind of – that we wouldn't I wouldn't say accustomed, but just somebody that would step up like, oh man, he had a hell of a game. Yeah. But I think in my personal opinion, Corey Gespert will be the one that kind of fills that bill, even though he's been balling all year. And a part of you can't, Drew Timmy, he's gonna ball regardless. Yeah, at this point, he's just.
Facts. The only thing that's gonna stop him is foul trouble. That's why I'm really curious to kind of see that matchup. Right. What they do, because you need to get him out the game. For Baylor.
Right. Yeah. If you have any legitimate shot at this point, because obviously they have the matchup guard wise. So if they could definitely kind of get a bit, get that front, at least get him out of foul trouble, kind of get him out the game. So I definitely agree with you on that one because they definitely have, and they can definitely take advantage of that. If that does happen, that would be somewhat of in their favor for Baylor. But yeah, big time. So, fellas, before we give our predictions and our MLP winners, we definitely have to give a huge shout out to our guys at Manscaped. So definitely check out Manscaped. Use our promo code OTBN. You get 20% off and free shipping. Once again, go to manscaped.com. Use our promo code OTBN. 20% off and free shipping.
Oh, hey, and Mo, go ahead and tell them the signature.
Hey, get the hair off the balls. Use it off the ball. Network, that is.
Correct. So, fellas, man, prediction time. So, who you got and who is your MOP?
Yeah, who you got, Mo?
Yeah, who you got, Mo?
Put your moment of truth.
Yeah. It's all good. We all could be wrong.
I ain't making one.
Come on, man.
All right. So, they always say go with your gut. But I have 3 different feelings. I don't know if y'all ever had that. My gut says Gonzaga.
Drake has.
My heart says Baylor. And my head says pick between your gut and your heart. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going Gonzaga. I'm playing it safe. I want Baylor to win. Don't get me wrong. I just want to see, like...
You woke up and chose violence.
I think everybody who picked Gonzaga in the tournament challenge just kind of, like, I think if I see you have Gonzaga as the winner, you kind of piss me off. Because, like, you didn't go out on the limb for nothing. Like, Gonzaga was like the lock. Like, the question was, would you take Gonzaga or the field? So, for me, when you have a team like that playing in the national championship, like, we expect them to be here. Baylor, we're not surprised, but there was a lot of other teams that we could have seen because we looked at Gonzaga's path and Baylor's path to get here. There were a few other teams we could have seen that Baylor could have potentially matched up against that Baylor didn't have us convinced that they're a for sure bet as the number 1 seed. And even if we would have said all 4 number 1s make it to the Final Four, had we have liked Baylor's matchup against a number 1 seed like we would have Gonzaga's matchup. So I want Baylor to win, but if I'm making a prediction who I think probably will win, I'm going to say Gonzaga in a close one. I think it's a close game. I don't know about down to the wire, 2 points, like 2 points at the end of 5 seconds, and we're going to see a potential game winner that doesn't get hit, or we do see another game, an iconic game winner that does get hit. I'm not really willing to jump out there, but, I mean, if I got to put a score on it, I look at how UCLA played Gonzaga. I look at how many points were put up. Why would I see a more talented team and not have the same type of expectation? So I'm going to go Gonzaga 83-79 over Baylor.
Okay.
They don't cover. They're favored by 4.5. So whoever bet on Baylor, whoever bet on the spread on Baylor wins their money. I'm going to say 83-79, and it kind of comes down to Baylor has that chance, but they have to foul, and Gonzaga goes and hits their free throws, and you play that kind of game. Hopefully I can score, and hopefully there's a miss within some free throws. So I say Gonzaga over Baylor, 83-79. There's too much offensive talent for me to expect or want to see a defensive game out here.
Chris, who you got?
I got Gonzaga. I'm one of those people you talking about on the bracket challenge, Mo, with Gonzaga selected. I'm going to go ahead and stick with them all the way through. I think it's going to be a close one. I have Gonzaga 78-74. So, hey, like you said, Baylor, they cover the spread. But I think, it's a national title game. So, of course, when these two teams start, I think we're going to see some mistakes, some jitters, just naturally because of such a big stage. So I wouldn't be surprised in a halftime if it's like a 30 to 27 or 35, 33 kind of game. And in the second half, the scoring kicks up because, the guys are settled in. And that's when the big time players start shining and making plays in the second half. So 78-74, that's what I have Gonzaga and Drew Timme. He is your most outstanding player.
Oh, yeah. Mo, who's your MOP? I forgot to get that from you.
Jalen Suggs.
Jalen Suggs.
Like
okay.
that because I know most outstanding players really you get awarded for the whole tournament. And like if I go with who's been the best, most consistent player for Gonzaga, I would go Drew Timme. But here's my thing. You have that opportunity to put the stamp on it when you have iconic moments. And we talk about Jalen Suggs has 2 iconic moments in one game. Block shot, down the court pass to Timme for the dunk.
Ridiculous.
Obviously the game-winning 3. Those iconic moments with your past 2 performances being top pick of the draft worthy, if you could continue that trend, people don't care about what you did in the round of 64, 32, even the Sweet 16 when your Elite 8, Final 4, and national championship performances were elite. So I think if Gonzaga wins and Jalen Suggs has a really great game, I think he wins it because he's the storyline of this game. When you really think about it, he's the most important player in this game. He's the most known player in this game. If there's a true superstar playing in this game, it's Jalen Suggs. We're not talking about Timme being a top pick. We're not talking about him competing with, Cade Cunningham on who could be the top pick. We're talking about Jalen Suggs. He is the guy. He's the All-American guy that we're talking about. So I would say that if he capitalizes with a really great performance, and he doesn't have to score 30, all around, 18 points, 7-8 rebounds, 8-9 assists, sniffs a triple-double, and plays very efficient, I think he'll win most outstanding player because that game winner and that block, those were 2 iconic, viral moments that you're not going to forget. And when you talk about iconic, if you capitalize with a great performance, it's only going to be fitting to give it to the guy who's the most well-known player on the court when he steps on there tonight.
Yeah. I wish the NBA would have knew that when they gave the Finals MVP to Iggy instead of Steph. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we've had that conversation. Just throwing it out there, I fully agree with you. Like, it's got to go to there's no way a guy like Steph Curry should have 3 championships and no Finals MVPs. Come on now.
Right.
Iguodala gets one. Like, come on. But like you said, that's a conversation for another day.
He was the king stopper.
Yeah.
White's averaging triple
He's
double.
not the guy who they consider giving the Finals MVP and losing.
In a loss,
like
right.
in a loss.
Jerry West.
They could, but he's the king stopper though. Like we were gonna give the loser it because he played so great, but you know what? Because you stopped them from getting to.
Because he held them to 29, 9, and 9.
Right.
Bro, he averaged like 34 that series.
Right.
That series he averaged like 34. Kawhi held him to 29, 9, and 9, and now all of a sudden he could shut down LeBron James. Jimmy Butler held him to 30, and now he could. But you know what? I could just call out all the guys that allegedly stopped.
Fake news. Fake news.
Yeah. Fake news.
That's the NBA media for you, man.
Yeah.
Dang. But that was a what I call that. Was it that used to be a buzzword, the LeBron stopper.
Yeah.
But and I'm like you, Bo. I'm one of the ones you talk about as well. They had Gonzaga. I've had them on our pool, my work pool, every pool in America that I've been in. Gonzaga was my champion.
Cop out. Yeah. That's such a cop out.
But it's smart.
Nobody, but like sometimes you're not going to be correct on most of the picks that you make in the bracket. So sometimes you just got to go out in a limb.
But from what I was hearing from people, I'm even watching from my eyes and even talking to people, everybody kept on saying Gonzaga, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna roll with it too.
But I had Gonzaga
undefeated,
I had Gonzaga getting there because I felt like their road was, but I ain't have them winning. I had Illinois going, and then Illinois ultimate, but obviously they flunked out. I had them getting there because I feel like obviously being the number 1 overall seed, you look at all the number 1 matchups. Or number 1 seeds, who was the most likely to get there?
Yeah.
Gonzaga. They had the easier road. No road was easy this year, clearly. But they had the easier road of the 1 seed. So I'm like, okay, they're bread and butter. I don't see nobody stopping them until they get to the national championship and really meet somebody that's just as talented. And obviously, we see how.
Little did we know they're going to have to play one of the greatest college basketball games ever to get to this point.
Right. So yeah, I think we're going to see history for the first time since 1976. We'll have an undefeated team, a 32-0 Gonzaga. I actually got them winning 81-79, eerily similar to Mo's point total. I think it's going to come down to the buzzer again. And at least now Gonzaga has that in the back, because I always figured I didn't like the fact that they kind of didn't have a struggle. Or dealt with some type of adversity. So I think that was part for the course of the UCLA matchup. Essentially, it was kind of their moment where, hey, if we're in this spot again, we know what to do. And Baylor's going to have a valiant effort, but they're going to fall short.
Y'all know what's going to happen now since we done said this.
Baylor going to win.
Baylor going to win by like 8 or 10 points.
Baylor going to beat the doors off of Gonzaga. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what the hell going to happen.
Right.
Baylor going to beat the doors off of Gonzaga because we done came out here talking about close game and Gonzaga, and I've been the wrongest of the wrong. So y'all should really be worried about y'all picks with me saying that Gonzaga gonna win a close one. Because every time I've predicted a score or something, it's been complete opposite. Baylor goes and kills Houston, and I said that was a down to the wire game. And in UCLA, I said they have no chance, and they go down to the wire and have Gonzaga struggling and need a creative shot, a great iconic shot like Jalen Suggs. So y'all should really be scared. Everybody who thinks Gonzaga about to win, all you that think y'all about to win this challenge because you got Gonzaga as the winner, I picked Gonzaga, so y'all should be scared. Maybe I'm the jinx. Maybe I'm the winner. I'm the jinx, and it'll be for all you heifers that picked, that picked Gonzaga. You know what I'm saying? I'm jinxing y'all. That's what I'm doing. It's a mind game.
I even made a LaMelo Ball reference, and I thought Tiana Trump was going to clap back at me at this point.
Oh, man.
But that's for another show, for another time.
Man, you know what? I got so much to say on that. I can't even be a representative off the ball network on my thoughts on that.
Right.
One,
That would be a personal chat, and no Michael Rappaports are allowed.
I don't even know if I can hit the group chat, bro, because I feel like a couple of y'all, and I love everybody, but I feel like a couple of y'all in the group chat.
That might have to be a voice audio.
Correct.
Like I feel like a couple of y'all in the group chat. I love all y'all, but a couple of y'all might be a little too sensitive for some of the things I want to say about my guy LaMelo Ball dating Tiana Trump. I'm just throwing it out.
Man, definitely appreciate you guys for coming through on Turn and Talk. So, fellas, where can they find your social media? Mo?
Oh, shoot. You good, Mo? Okay, I'll go ahead. Y'all can follow me at Chris_Bolton_12 on Twitter and at Chris.Bolton_ on Instagram. Of course, I got my podcast to check up with Chris Bolton. Check out everything we got going on with Off the Ball Network. We have all your sports needs covered. Of course, we got Tourney Talk going on tonight, so y'all know what's up. But yeah, that's what I got going on.
Yes, sir. Mo, you good? You good, brother?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you back in the game? Can you sub back in? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Clap me in. All right, so yeah, go follow me at Upper Flames Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Mo_Cheese15. So it's not much of a story, but I did say that, so it's just a little funny story, a little corny, cheesy story, pun intended. So the Mo Cheese thing started going into my senior year of high school. Playing basketball, I was a shooter. So for some reason, me and one of my tight homeboys, we used to shoot the ball, and when we knew we was gonna hit it, this is cheese. It was a high pitched cheese, and when I hit it, I thought cheese, see ya. So for some reason, it just stuck at 17, 18 years old, and that's what everybody like, hey, cheese, Mo Cheese. I put it on the back of my hoodie, like I own the name at that point. Some people, why they call you Cheese? I'll be like, look, it's just,
you might as well
get
that LLC, get that thing trademarked.
Bro, to be honest, bro, I had a dance to go with it. I was doing it in the games. I pump fake jab step, like playing, Cheese, see ya. So that's where the Mo Cheese come from.
We need that dance.
Literally, I got the dance, I had a little. That was a little cheese dance back in the day. I hit a little three. People in the crowd look, they knew what it was. So yeah. That's where the mo cheese came from. But those are darker times. But yeah, definitely go check me out. Up in Flames. I got tomorrow. I have Steven and Austin from Breaking the Game. We're gonna go live at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Kind of talk some things NBA. They've had me as a guest on their show. I talk to them all the time. I've had Steven on. I wanted to bring both him and Austin on there. So I think that's going to be a good show. We're going to talk about a few things, couple little surprising things that we've been hearing throughout the NBA media. And shout out to Bars and Jerg for their launch of their new show that they debuted tonight, actually at the same time. So if you gave Tourney Talk a lot of attention, when you get off of here, I suggest you go to Off the Ball Network Twitter page and go check out Bars and Jerg's new show. It's the first episode, the debut episode of their show that they'll be co-hosting together. Two great minds, guys that are well-rounded. So that's going to be one of those basketball, football, baseball, hockey. Those guys are just going to be in the news and all things sports. So, a lot of us have some specialties, but shout out to those guys for being real well-rounded. Obviously, Bars is like the baseball guy. Jerg is the hockey guru, but then their well-rounded knowledge of basketball, football, that's going to be like a headline cover, storylines of all sports. So, when you want to hear a mix of sports topics from NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and you want to hear different opinions, you'll get that from Jerg and Bars. So shout out to them for launching their, well-anticipated show that we've been wanting to check out. So go from here, go to Off the Ball Network Twitter page, and definitely go check out those guys. It'll be a great show. But, hey, it's Tourney Talk. Tourney Talk is over. Now it's about to be National Championship watch,
Yeah.
National Championship and chill.
Yeah, and just real quick, I got a new episode of my podcast coming out this week. I'm recording it Wednesday night, interviewing my guy D-Bass. He's a rapper who coming out of Texas. His album is about to drop. So we're just going to talk about everything going on with his second album that he's finna come out with. So we're just trying to expand things. So be on the lookout for that, and definitely go check out his album that's already out now, Self-Centered by D-Bass. Go ahead and check that out on all the major streaming platforms.
Yes, indeed. Definitely huge shout out to our guys from Bunts and Bruises, Jerg and them show. I don't know why. First I get ready to say Blunt. I was like, oh, no. Don't do
I was going to say the wrong thing. So I was like, man, I don't want to say the wrong show. But, Bunts and Bruises, my bad.
Yeah, I thought, that's like, I know. Because how your mind be thinking, like, all right. But, yeah, it'd be like that. It's catchy, too. I love that, too. And it's catchy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, most definitely follow the Couch Coach Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, we got a show tomorrow night as well. So we'll be on our Facebook page and our Twitter page, Couch Coach Live. We'll recap tonight's game, and then do a little NBA story, some NFL. We'll talk about Paul Pierce and just everything under the sun with everything that's going on. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well, YouTube. Follow, subscribe, like, and everything. So yeah, man. So definitely appreciate everyone. Yeah.
Paul away from LaMelo.
Correct. Well, don't go to it's other things going on in Charlotte as well.
Clearly, the internet didn't stay away from LaMelo.
Correct.
He's living his lifelong dream. He's living his 13-year-old fantasies right now. That's
yeah.
Oh, we all. Right. As far as we definitely champion.
Yeah,
that, and but definitely huge shout out to them. And yeah, man. So, hey, man, for Mo, Chris, and Couch Coach, man, this has been this week's Tourney Talk, man. Enjoy the national championship.
Go Zags.
Go Zags. Sick 'em. That's probably gonna end up happening. But, all right, we out.